They say some places hold the echoes of the past, whispers of sorrow and tragedy that never quite fade away. And nowhere is that more true than the Tower of London, a fortress of stone and secrets. For nearly 1,000 years, it has stood silent witness to some of England's darkest moments. But of all the spirits said to wander its ancient halls, one is more famous, more tragic than any other. The ghost of a queen forever searching for her head. This is the story of Anne Boleyn. Before the ghost, there was the woman. Anne Boleyn wasn't just any queen. She was a force of nature, witty, intelligent, and captivating, with dark, mesmerizing eyes that held the King of England, Henry VIII, completely spellbound. He was already married, but for Anne, he was willing to break with the Catholic Church, defy the Pope, and change the course of English history forever, just to make her his wife. In 1533, she got her crown. She was Queen of England. For a fleeting moment, she had everything. She had risen higher than any woman of her time could have dreamed. But the higher you climb, the harder you fall. Henry's obsession with Anne was fiery and all-consuming, but it was matched only by his desperate need for a male heir to secure the Tudor dynasty. Anne promised him a son, but instead she gave him a daughter, Elizabeth, a future queen, but not the king Henry demanded. Miscarriages and stillbirths followed, and with each failure the king's love curdled into resentment. His wandering eye, once fixed solely on Anne, began to stray. A new lady-in-waiting, Jane Seymour, caught his attention. Suddenly, Anne, the woman he had moved heaven and earth for, was in the way. To get rid of a queen, you can't just ask for a divorce, not again. So, a plot was hatched. Vicious rumors began to swirl around the court, whispers of adultery, incest, and even witchcraft. People said she had used dark arts to bewitch the king in the first place. These were terrifying accusations, and they were completely baseless. But they served their purpose. Anne and 5 men, including her own brother, were arrested and taken to the Tower of London. The place she had entered as a triumphant queen, she now returned to as a condemned prisoner. Her trial was a sham. The evidence was fabricated, the witnesses coerced. It was clear from the start that the verdict was already decided. Anne defended herself with courage and intelligence, but it was useless. She was found guilty of high treason. The sentence was death. Henry, in a final twisted act of mercy, decreed that she wouldn't be burned at the stake or beheaded with a common axe. Instead, he ordered a specialist swordsman to be brought over from France. A clean, swift stroke was to be her only comfort. On the morning of May 19, 1536, Anne Boleyn walked to the scaffold on Tower Green. She was just 29 years old. Dressed in a grey damask gown, she addressed the crowd not with anger or bitterness, but with a strange and haunting calm. She maintained her innocence, but urged the people to pray for the king. She knelt, uttered a final prayer, and with one swing of the French blade, it was over. But her story was not. In the chilling silence that followed, a dark legend was born. Just one day after Anne's execution, King Henry VIII married Jane Seymour. He tried to erase Anne from history, ordering all portraits of her to be destroyed, her emblems removed. But you can't erase a memory that powerful, and you can't silence a spirit with a thirst for justice. The sightings began almost immediately. Guards at the Tower of London, hardened men used to the grim realities of the fortress, started reporting strange occurrences. The most famous early account comes from the 19th century. One night, a captain of the guard saw a faint light flickering in the locked chapel of St. Peter ad Vincula, the very place where Anne's body was buried in an unmarked grave. Peering through a window, he saw a ghostly procession of knights and ladies in Tudor-era clothing, marching slowly down the aisle. At the head of the procession was a figure of a woman, elegant and regal, yet terrifyingly familiar. It was Anne Boleyn. As she approached the spot where her body lay, she and the entire procession simply vanished into thin air. But that's not her only haunting ground. Her spirit seems tied to the places that defined her life and her tragic end. At Blickling Hall in Norfolk, her childhood home, she is said to return every year on the anniversary of her execution. Eyewitnesses have described a gruesome spectacle. A ghostly carriage, pulled by 4 headless horsemen and driven by a headless coachman, thunders up the driveway. Inside sits Anne Boleyn, beautiful and resplendent, holding her own severed head in her lap. The carriage circles the house before vanishing as silently as it appeared. Hever Castle in Kent, another of her childhood homes, is also a site of her spectral visits. Here, her ghost is said to be less terrifying and more sorrowful. She is often seen on Christmas Eve, a lonely figure wandering across the bridge over the River Eden, perhaps reliving happier memories of a time before a king's obsession sealed her fate. But it is the Tower of London where her presence is felt most strongly. She has been seen walking along the battlements, a solitary headless figure gliding through the cold stone corridors. One of the most chilling encounters happened in 1864. A sentry on duty near the Queen's house saw a white, misty shape approaching him from the darkness. He challenged it, shouting, "Who goes there?" The figure didn't stop. It continued to float towards him. He challenged it again, and when it still didn't respond, he lunged forward with his bayonet. The blade passed straight through the apparition, and the soldier fainted from sheer terror. When he was later court-martialed for fainting on duty, 2 other guards corroborated his story. They had seen the whole thing from a nearby window. They testified that they saw the sentry challenge the white figure, and then saw the figure pass right through him. The charges were dropped. Her spirit isn't always headless. Sometimes she appears whole, a sad and beautiful young woman in a gray dress, wandering the White Tower. People who have seen her describe an overwhelming feeling of sadness and despair that washes over them, a cold chill that has nothing to do with the drafty old building. It's as if the very air still holds the agony of her final days. So why does her spirit linger? Is it the injustice of her death? A mother's grief for the daughter she was forced to leave behind? Or is it simply the sheer force of her personality, too strong to be extinguished by a single stroke of a sword? Whatever the reason, the story of the Headless Queen has captivated people for centuries. It's a tale of love, betrayal, and a ghost that refuses to be forgotten. Historians may debate the facts of her life, but for those who have walked the cold, lonely corridors of the tower at night, for those who have felt a sudden, inexplicable chill at Blickling Hall, the ghost of Anne Boleyn is more than just a legend. She is a chilling reminder that the past is never truly gone. It waits in the shadows, in the whispers on the wind, forever replaying its most tragic scenes. So next time you hear a story about the Tower of London, remember the Queen who lost her head but never lost her voice. A voice that still echoes through the halls of history, a silent scream of injustice. She is England's most famous ghost, a queen in life and a queen in death, forever haunting the land she once ruled. Thank you for joining me on this journey into one of history's most chilling ghost stories. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales from the dark side of history. Stay curious and watch out for things that go bump in the night.